how China cannot replace the USA as the global hegemon. For the last 8 decades, the USA has acted as the enforcer of world Jewry, using both soft and hard power to beat nations that don't conform into submission, spreading immorality under the guise of democracy and human rights. America is the vehicle by which the Jews have been able to extend their tentacles to every corner of the globe, enslaving nations with usury, turning entire populations into debt slaves, trading sovereignty for material interest. Dangling the golden carrot with promises of prosperity to nations with weak and corruptible leaders is the easy part. However, it is not enough to simply buy off governments or install dictators. Loaning money with strings attached still requires enforcement should the debtors renege, boycott their loans, or refuse to abide by the terms, as is often the case. The reason for the USA's success is its ability to crush disobedient client regimes with brute military force. Even the threat of such force can be enough to maintain discipline. With China poised to replace the USA as the global economic hegemon, an important component for world domination is still missing: force. Despite having the largest military in the world, with highly advanced weapons, and even a navy larger than that of the USA, China lacks military prowess. But more importantly, China lacks the international reach that the USA has. With only one overseas military base, its navy is predominantly green water, and its army has little to no experience in actual warfare, having lost their last conflict when they confronted Vietnam in 1979. The Chinese are not warriors or conquerors. At best, they can defend their own territory. They are not colonizers, and have never ventured outside of East Asia militarily. The Chinese are merchants interested in trade, whereas the Anglos are ultimately pirates, who only use mercantilism as a means to deceive their would-be trade partners. They're not interested in a fair trade. They want everything for nothing. However, this only works when overwhelming military force is available. The Chinese don't think on these terms. Their mindset is not about dominating, as this strategy is unsustainable, and they think very long-term. Before the USA, Britain was the world hegemon. As a sea power, the unrivaled Royal Navy allowed for Britain to spread its influence across the entire world. The pound sterling was the reserve currency, and during the 19th century, it had the largest industrial base. The transition from the UK to the USA was inevitable, as it was natural. Both were white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Both spoke English. Both were maritime powers, and they both shared the same liberal ideology. The USA was merely an extension of Britain. The globalist headquarters simply relocated from London to New York. The USA took over the reins and continued where the UK was unable to, having been run into the ground by the Jews, who used Britain to defeat Germany, which took over 30 years, breaking the empire in the process. China is completely different, with an ancient civilization that predates both Britain and the USA combined several times over. It's more than a country, it's a collection of many countries, all unified under one identity. Unlike the Anglos, they do not follow radical individualism. As a land power, they are collectivists and have a mindset of serving the nation rather than serving the self. Moreover, the Chinese are not interested in forcing their ideology onto other nations. Their strategy is to cooperate and build stable relationships with partners for long-lasting mutual trade. Historically, the Chinese have always dominated East Asia, albeit with rivals such as the Mongols and the Japanese, who certainly presented a challenge and even overshadowed them. But like a blue whale, China is too large to kill, even by deadly predators such as great whites or killer whales, which Japan and Korea are often compared with. China has been beaten and bruised over the centuries, but they can hold their own in their own vicinity. But other than some regional disputes with their neighbors, they don't venture outside their own borders. Chinese manufacturing certainly places them at the top of world trade, giving them a great deal of leverage. But they cannot force their will upon other nations, and thus will not be able to replace America as the global debt collector and killer of nations. They simply don't have it in them. Thanks for watching. If you like this content, please consider subscribing. Please also share and leave a like. It's free and it helps the channel. Also, a big thank you to all of you who have very kindly donated. I very much appreciate your generosity, as this channel is demonetized. For one-off donations, it's easy. I accept PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee, or even crypto. Links are in the description. Until next time.